This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
So let me share the screen. Ed, sorry, did you have any initial announcements, Ed, before we officially?
No,
Okay.
we're officially started. Go ahead.
I had a few structural things with the document that I was aware of. Section 7 begins incorrectly with 4-1 rather than 7-1 and continues to 4-4 rather than 7-4. So again, that's a structural thing.
Did you say section 7?
Section 7. And if you look where it begins.
Oh, the number.
See down at the bottom of the page?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you really mean that to be 7-1, 7-2, 7-3, etc. Then there appear to be two section 8s. Goals and objectives and pages are numbered correctly. But second section 8, which is said to be the 7-year action plan, is actually section 9.
Correct.
Now pages are numbered correctly, 9-1, 9-2, but I think you just want to change that.
Okay.
And the other thing that I had a question on was the appendix.
Okay.
I questioned pages being numbered as 5-1, 5-2 when you already have a section 5. Why not simply number them A-1, A-2?
Yeah, it still has to be, the appendix still has to be formulated because there's some other documents like agendas and definition references, support letters. So they will all be correctly paginated. So
then you'll do like an A-1, A-2 versus section 5, which is
correct.
Like.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think that was what Eric was working off of.
Okay.
Due to the section 5 being where this particular table was placed in section 5. So he probably just used that and expanded it,
Okay.
for that.
And a question, and this could just be my not knowing. Under letters of endorsement, there was question of Long Meadow Select Board Conservation, Long Meadow Conservation, Long Meadow Planning Board. Is that supposed to be Southampton?
Southampton.
Okay, so that needs to be changed. Okay.
Right.
All right.
That's actually so. I spoke to Emily today because she gave me this, and of course, it's one of those cardinal sins that I, am usually at one point during this process, I will have another town's name in there, and I guess that's the point.
Okay.
So I apologize. That should say East Long Meadow, and actually, in the public comment section, I will be putting these letters of endorsement into the appendix.
Okay, all right. And the other thing I would suggest, just to make it easier to find things, is a table of contents.
Yeah, once we finalize all the pages, that was going to be the last step.
Okay.
And as long as you're talking structure, I did recommend to the 2012 plan, the top of every page has a header that says Town of Southampton Open Space and Recreation Plan 2012. I suggested that for this one as well. So I don't know, sometimes pages get separated and out. And I also, while these have section pages at the bottom, 4.3 and 5.2, I think just paging the entire document some way is also helpful. We could say go to page 78 or page 33 or something. That's my suggestion.
Okay. So, this is presented basically as it would appear in a book form. And so with that said, there is, these are the drafts that you've seen every meeting that we've had, and all the comments incorporated to date in this plan. Obviously, Rainey has provided comments, which she'll be sending, and Cindy has provided comments Yvonne provided some structural comments, and those will be addressed in another iteration of this, which will also include all of the appendix items. I think, as it's presented, this, unless, I guess we could take this time if there are some glaring things that you're seeing that you didn't see before in the previous reviews, and it hasn't been addressed. I think we should address them. But other than that, you've seen these drafts in individual forms from the previous meetings. So I guess, if there's some comments that the board or the committee wants to share, and we can address them as a committee, or, I'll make a note to fix those on the draft when I put all of the comments that have been submitted and include, whatever it is that was in those comments in the draft for your next look at. I will say, though, that more than likely what you'll want to do is the comments that you've presented will be incorporated in the draft, and then from there, and another component of this is that we have a component of this plan that still needs to be done, and the town administrator will be doing that. It's the ADA report. So we allude to that in section 7 in the narrative form. We'll summarize whatever that looks like, but it ends up being in the appendix, the ADA report. So we're near completion. But if it's a matter of just putting it in there when it's done, then that's the case. But you'll have another opportunity after Cindy's, Rainey's, and whoever else wants to submit comments in this draft, because I'll provide another iteration of this, and we'll post it to the town website where the public will be reviewing it. With that said, then also schedule the appearances before the Conservation Commission and Planning Board for their endorsement. And that's kind of, the longer trajectory going into September. But yeah, I guess, I put whatever was at the end of the agenda for the night in, and explained it now. So if the committee wants to look at certain sections, I have the draft plan here. As you can see, I was making notes through Post-its on this PDF. And then I'm going to go into the Word document and change those things.
This is Rainey. I think that like the comments that I made were like, it says country instead of county. Like, I don't think it's useful for us to spend time in a committee meeting to do edits. If there's content stuff that should be discussed by the committee, I think that would be probably a good thing. But any kind of like to go, section by section with any kind of small edits, I don't think that's a great use of committee time.
Okay.
So I have a content question.
Yeah.
I did, looking back at the 2012 plan, and I didn't know if this section should be included in the introduction of the 2012 plan. There's a paragraph which refers to environmental justice. And it said basically that our Southampton's demographics and predominantly rural development pattern, that there is no environmental justice populations identified. And then it goes on to say these conditions are not present, and therefore no enhanced outreach to this population was performed as required by DCS. So my question is, should we have some reference to environmental justice in this document, or is that changed?
We should, and I feel like I've seen it.
I do feel like I read a section about that. I'm not really sure where at this particular moment, but I think there was reference to that.
Okay, then if it's in there and I missed it, I apologize. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ensure that it's in there, but because Southampton doesn't have any EJ census tracts, then, similar language would be put in there.
Okay.
Ken, is it appropriate to attach the map that I just put the link for in the chat? Because that took me aback. Like when I read it, I was like, whoa, we're being super insensitive and not addressing this. But if you look at the county maps, it's really laid out well on like what an environmental justice community is and where they are. So I don't know if that's helpful for people.
Yeah, I mean, we can put it in there, especially if the thing is we should address it anyway, and we can just put it as a reference point. I probably would want to reach out and see if there's something better than 2010.
It's old data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Southampton doesn't have any environmental justice tracts, so, but at the same time, I think it's helpful to understand the context of the community surrounding Southampton, so that is helpful. So what Brittany was describing, she sent in the chat. If you opened it, it's a link to a map from the state, which shows the environmental justice populations in the western region of the state. So you'll see that Southampton does not have any.
Okay. Go ahead. Who was going to speak? I was interrupted.
Go ahead, Cindy. It's fine.
So there's another thing, and I'm apologizing. My notes, I didn't write sections on them as I was making notes, but one of the concepts that's brought up is residential growth. It presents a challenge for our community. I think it said it more than one place. And I know there was a study that came out of, I think, UMass about the cost of residential growth as compared to the cost of municipal services. And you're probably familiar with that study, Ken. It depended on what community, but in some cases, for every tax dollar that was brought in on property taxes, it was assumed the municipalities had to spend, $1.16 or $1.08 or something. I just didn't know if that would be a helpful study to reference and have in the appendix, and I'm throwing that out for discussion right now.
I think it would be helpful. I think that was a huge debate that came up when we were dealing with the Glendale or Clearwater Woodland. There's a lot of people that felt that, why are we doing this? We're going to lose like residential tax money. So I think that was a huge piece of it. So I think it would be a good idea to reference it.
And probably Rini and others remember that a developer, or more than one perhaps, stood up at town meeting and said, gosh, why aren't we developing more lands, because they would bring in more, tax dollars. Again, the study kind of disproves that concept. So I think it would be helpful to include. Do you know which study I'm talking about, Ken, or do you want me to?
I've heard of it. I'll find the citation. I think at least referencing it, with a sentence or two would be helpful in the section that you talk about.
If you don't find it, I have it in my files. I just didn't, I'm sorry to say, didn't take the time to look for it, but I do have it.
Okay. I'm sure, Googling it, I'll find it pretty easily.
Yeah. Okay, good. Great. And then if you remember, I put in my comments, it's a little more than structural. I put in my comments that both the Conservation Commission and the Open Space Committee are trying to reference parcels utilizing assessor's map number and lot number. And I'm a little concerned that a lot of the references to parcels, whether they're municipally owned or they're privately owned or owned by other entities, in some cases it's hard to track where exactly we mean. And I just wondered if, I realized that would be taking a good deal of work, but to find those, but to get those maps and lots numbers could be really helpful.
So what Eric did in the appendix, if you look at, I told him to put the parcel numbers in the appendix. document. So this is, let me zoom in.
Oh, all right. So on the column on the left there,
Yeah, so
oh, okay.
parcel number.
It just said, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. That's exactly what that was. Okay.
So yeah, the appendix document is, again, comes exactly the way that it's presented on the map layer from MassGIS. So the direction to Eric was to, in the appendix, include the parcel ID and not necessarily address it in the actual document in section 5. Because section 5 was presented more as a narrative with the matrix that showed some of the similar information that was presented in the appendix, but presented in a different way in section 5.
Okay, then I'm good with that.
And I'm being quiet because I can't find the originally sent, and so far what you resent me has not arrived.
Oh,
Come on down to my house, Janet. Francine, I have 2 computers open. You can read it here.
Yeah, so do I. I'm looking on both of them. I've looked. What was the date that it was sent out?
Tuesday.
So Tuesday the 11th.
Correct.
11th. Whatever. 11.
What I'll do, Francine, is
Don't have it. I've gone through, and it came from you. It did not come from Ed. Is that correct?
It came
yes.
through Ed. I thought it came through Ed because that's how I received it.
Ed sent the invitation,
Yes, I have.
and then after, I sent in the afternoon the document.
That's interesting. 'Cause
Okay.
I got the document through Ed.
Ed may have copied a response. I'm not sure.
No, I don't want to spend a lot of time, doing this, but
I guess if there are any more, content comments, what I'm going to do, Francine, while people are gauging their thoughts, is upload it to a Dropbox and then provide the link to you.
okay.
So this is a question for Ed. I know Nancy Ruscio. I know who she is. She's listed as part of the working group. I don't recall. Was she an at-large member, or was she representing something? Or
I think that Nancy Ruscio was actually part of the COA board, and if I was unable to attend, she would
Right.
attend.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So should I just remove that name?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure you should remove it because she is an option. If I know ahead of time I can't attend and can get hold of her. Sometimes I don't know until the last minute, like the last meeting.
But
But
if you attended, maybe go ahead and put Council on Aging beside her name.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll do that.
yes,
That was one of my questions.
Are we going to talk about the timeline after?
Yeah, I guess if the other components of the draft are at least fine at this point, and again, I'll preface it with you'd be able to provide additional comment during the period when it's open to the public. So if there's something that you didn't catch in this review, or after I, include the initial comments from Cindy and Rini that they've submitted so far. I think.
Can I ask
go ahead.
I just wanted to ask a question, and I apologize if this was mentioned before. I'm looking at page 3-6
Okay.
at the end of the 3rd paragraph. No, wait a minute. The end of the 2nd paragraph.
During the mid to late 19th century.
Yeah. So we're just talking about how Easthampton ended up being a mill community because of decisions that were made at the time, that Southampton retained its rural tradition. And then at the end it says, today Southampton is a community of commuters and few farmers with a good many of Polish descent.
Wow.
I didn't know that that was true. Is it?
Is it important?
Um,
How was that determined? I'm just wondering.
it was in the 2012 plan. I think, we didn't necessarily address that.
Okay, I'm curious. I didn't know what the reference was on that. I don't know if that's still true, in terms of the commuters and farmers. I'm sure that was what the reference point was.
Uh-huh.
So if you have a community of commuters and few farmers with a good many of Polish descent, I don't know if that's,
I also think that that's a weird kind of connection.
Yeah.
So I'm
Right
gonna go ahead and remove it if anyone has any issues.
I think it should be removed because there were some farmers that came here from generations well before the migration from Eastern Europe or anything. That's I don't know. There's people of multiple descents in our community. So
Just say community of commuters and farmers.
Yep.
Period.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I just wanted to see what people thought about that. I didn't know that to be true.
good catch, Rini.
It was 2012.
Could I just, I have it, on 3.9.
Okay.
Is the latest data we can get on earnings under the socioeconomic characteristics, 3.9? Only 2017?
That was what we were able to get from our data people. I did ask if there was anything after that. I can qualify it by saying this was the latest data.
I think that'd be good.
Just put a qualifier in there.
Maybe put a disclaimer at the very beginning.
Yeah.
These figures are from the
Well, I mean, it's sourced if it's presented in the table, but I guess if it's presented in the narrative, we'll just ensure that it's sourced correctly.
Yeah, because I mean, you can do the calculation a little bit differently when you look at the table, but in the narrative, we're looking at 2013 to 2017.
Yeah.
This is Janet. I hate to go backward, but on section 2, number B, it says the committee has met 5 times beginning November 19th to June 20. Do we need to say how many? I think we met more than that. But
We have.
Yeah, can it go to September? Not June? I think we're going to be meeting in September.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll update that.
Okay, that's just a picky thing. And then on the paragraph in the next page, it says the number of attendees at that meeting that we went to, there were only 13 people, which was kind of sad. And most of the attendees were our members. That's on page 22. Maybe that doesn't, the number of attendees, total number, just word it maybe a little bit differently. So, because we got a survey.
To not draw attention to it, you mean?
Yes.
So what we can do is do that. We have to include the sign-in sheet anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll just include the sign-in sheet in the appendix, and I'll just say,
Of 55,000 plus people, and we had only 13 people there.
members of the community attended, something like that.
Great.
Most of us were on the committee. Okay, yeah, that's just a picky point. Okay, thank you.
Ken, on that page of 2-1 is where you see Nancy Ruscio's name.
Yep.
You put Council on Aging after her.
Yeah, I put it in this note over here.
Okay.
Just like your name, yeah, perfect.
Okay. if there's no further comments on these initial sections, I think, as Brittany stated, you know, and Cindy has brought, you know, sections 8 and 9, because there was a lot of discussion that we had at the last meeting. I tried my best. I re-listened to the recording, and I didn't necessarily capture everything. So, you know, it's good that we're going to be talking about that again. So I'm moving down to section 8.
Wait, this is
Yep.
Jen. May I just say, on page 3, the third paragraph, it says, in discussions among the ad hoc open space committee, which will become a permanent town coming within the year. I think now,
It's permanent.
It is permanent, yep. I meant to,
Cindy can confirm that we're not ad hoc anymore. So maybe that might be reworded.
thanks, Janet. You're absolutely right. And I caught it, but I didn't mention it here. It is a permanent committee, so that,
Well, it was correct at the time, but now we've gone forward, so.
yeah. So don't, can remove the word ad hoc, just the open space committee.
And which will become a permanent committee
Yeah.
within the year.
Put a period after committee and don't bother with that
Period.
part of the sentence, yeah. Good.
Okay. And
Thanks.
just remove ad hoc and period after
Correct.
committee.
It's all just a timing issue. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, things have happened since, you know, we started doing this draft.
Things are
Right.
happening. That's good.
The planning board had a discussion last night about stormwater, and we did address that in this, right?
Yep, yep.
So, and the master plan committee is doing their survey. So it is a living document, as you'll see.
You're
Okay.
missing a major parcel on the list of parcels as well, and that is Pomeroy Meadow Road. It's a water, it falls under the water commissioners. That's an acquisition from, was it 2018, you guys? I think 2018. I don't think it's listed. It's Pomeroy Meadow Road.
Would have been
I think it was
2019.
19.
29, yeah.
It was 19, yeah, it's brand new, but it's not listed as an acquisition.
Okay, so what we'll do is, we had this conversation last week, or at the last meeting. Cindy, you brought up a 2-acre parcel that I
Yep.
think you were exploring.
Right.
And I suggested that in this document, because this relies on data that has already been qualified by the state, we'll put it under this section. In addition, you know, on page 515, how we list these particular areas that the Conservation Commission has identified that are not in the data layer, but work towards getting them on the data layer. So do you have information as to these various items that, you know, would help add that parcel, or know where I could find it?
I can send you the information on it, Ken.
Okay.
At least the one on Pomeroy Meadow Road.
Yeah. Can anybody here tell me what B&N LLC is? It's an Edwards Road parcel and it's listed as, I don't know what that is. Where is it? Sorry to interrupt you on this, but it's under, go up a little more there. Keep going. I think it has a CR on it. There,
B&N Lands?
top one on Edwards Road. Does anybody know what that is? I don't know. Brittany, do you know what that is?
Yeah, that's New England forestry land.
What is
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who owns the conservation restriction on that.
Well, it's held by New England Forestry, but what is B&N? Is that a, like, person's last name or something? You don't know? Okay.
That I don't know. No.
All right, leave it alone then. Sorry.
That's in the neighborhood, and I know that there's property there, and I was told that if I ever wanted to use it, I had to ask, the people in this house, so adjacent to it, and I never did, but it's roped off.
Well, there's a street off of Miller, between Miller and Glendale. At one end of it says Edward, and one end it says Edwards. But I think there's only houses there. I don't know if it's Edwards Road.
No, there's a path that goes adjacent between, I think, two lots. And I was told that's walkable, that's public property, but then I was cautioned I need to talk to one of the homeowners, and I never did to venture. So it's not very clear.
I think the Edwards is at Glenner's property from way back. So that's interesting.
Well,
Right. Don't mean to interrupt people. Sorry. That was just my question.
I'm sure the assessors knows.
Okay, so I think we'll move down to,
Pardon me. I hate to keep going backward. This is Janet. But I had a question about, I'm sure I lost it. The walkway on Route 10 on page 314. It says high traffic volumes along the narrow shoulder and poor lines of sight discouraged by. We have a brand new bike path there that's really, really wonderful on Route 10 that maybe should be updated. So on 314, high traffic volumes, poor lights, discouraging, despite gentle terrain, the characteristics of the southern area. Is that talking about the walkway that goes by Cumberland Farms? And
Yeah.
so Janet, did you want to add that? Is that?
Well, I think it might be reworded a little bit. Don't we have a wonderful, really wide sidewalk that was built last year, year before, for kids to go to school, and it says along with narrow shoulder, poor lines of sight, discourage biking. But we do have a wonderful sidewalk that goes from Glendale to, I don't know, Gun Road or something. No.
It goes all the way to Route 10.
Yeah.
Sidewalk, yeah.
It's a big wide sidewalk, and I even talked to Randall about why it was so wide, and he says so people can walk and kiddos can ride their bikes to go to school and stuff. So we do have a sidewalk there now.
What's the location, Janet?
Between Pomeroy Meadow and Cumberland Farms, sort of, in that area. Farm side.
There's two. There's one on Route 10, which starts, I think, at Cumberland Farms or that apartment area, goes all the way down to the corner of Pomeroy Meadow across from the building that's going to become a church or is a church. And then there's another sidewalk that goes from in front of the post office on Pomeroy Meadow Road, actually a little before that, starting at Route 10, going all the way up to the corner of
mentioned here
of Glendale Road. Yeah. And the reason for the width of the sidewalks has to do with when they were built, because state laws changed. It used to be sidewalks that were just for two people walking by each other, but then they had to be able to accommodate two, support vehicles of some sort if necessary, like two wheelchairs or something.
But I think the one you're talking about, Pomeroy Meadow, is addressed in paragraph above there.
Okay, all right.
Pomeroy Meadow to Glendale. So I think that one, College Highway to Glendale, I think that sidewalk is in front of the post office and all. I think that one's addressed in paragraph 1. But
Janet, you're saying that we should include that there has been recently the installation of a new wider sidewalk between Pomeroy Meadows and Cumberland Farms.
Word it so that it's not a narrow shoulder with 4 lines.
Yeah. And there's another brand new sidewalk that's from Route 10 all the way to the corner of Glendale Road and Pomeroy Meadow Road that just was finished, just paved a couple of weeks ago, months ago, I guess.
I would use street landmarks and not businesses.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
I'm getting a voicemail from Mr. Gibson right now.
I think it means
Yeah,
we should
code
go-
red alert.
Yeah, it's telling you there's an annual town meeting on Saturday.
We'll all get it at the same time, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of it. Son of a gun, I didn't know that. That's the joke.
You have a great voice, Ed, by the way.
So
Why, thank
we'll update that.
Okay.
in notes.
I think it's still valid that you can't ride a bike down Route 10. Like, no one's going to use that as a way to commute, which I think might be the point of that bullet. Right? That one section's really nice, but there's no way you're going from Big Y to Sheldon's on Route 10.
She's
Well,
right.
there are a couple of them, so yeah, but you're right. You're right. The bicycle's going to do what they're going to do. So
Right.
I
Yeah,
did.
that really hasn't stopped anyone.
It stopped me. I'm not doing it.
You say, I've seen bicyclists out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Janet, I'm gonna slowly go down to section 8. So if there's something that you
Okay.
see or something strikes your fancy.
Oh, I have another thing. Okay. Okay. I'll ignore my other screens.
Okay.
Section 8. I'm sorry to have interrupted.
No, that's important. But yeah, so again, Janet, if they're in your, in your next review of what will be after this, just ensure to provide, the comments. I probably won't, it probably will be happening
Tonight.
outside of the contract
Okay.
because the contract ends in August, but we'll make sure that you get a plan and that it's approved by, the proper
Okay,
state
I just
agency.
had a few other little crazy things. Okay. Thank you.
Section 8. Okay, so I know that, and Cindy has provided the note about some inconsistencies with just some nomenclature, so I will ensure that those notes make it. It's the inconsistency between the how the OSRP is updated in section 9 every 7 years, but in section 8 it says every 5 years. They did move to 7 years, so that was the new update. And then her comment is also in regards to the Open Space Committee and how it should be identified as the responsible party for that particular section.
Correct.
Yay.
So I guess, section 8 is one thing, but maybe section 9 is where we should be focusing our efforts, especially since, I've provided some additional information here since the last time, which is specific to the target date of completion. I used the numbering and just basically the adoption of the 2012 plan and however it was presented for these goals that are still remaining here had a similar timeline. Whether or not that's correct or incorrect, we can take this time to fix that. So I don't know if Brittany, you had any initial comments that maybe we can at least start that conversation.
Sure, just a couple cart and horse comments. So like if we don't get money to maintain the trails from CPA, there's no way I'm offering educational programs on them as a volunteer. right? So I really feel like that should be moved up to a 2020 or a 2021 if that's the earliest we can do it.
What number are you referring to?
Yeah, so that is goal 301 6. Oh, that's a different one. That's the other one I think we need to do right away. So that one is goal 501 and then strategy 1.
Oh, goal 5.
Yeah. Right, because we have the volunteers do education programs happening pretty soon.
Oh, so this one, 20.
Yep.
This one. Oh, and then you suggested that the town and Conservation Commission work on the local wetlands bylaw.
Yes, that should be immediate.
Sooner
Those
rather
should,
than later.
yeah, the solar siting should also happen immediately before more
Yeah.
development happens.
I think a lot of towns are going to start doing the solar.
Yeah, they already are.
Yeah, and a lot of towns that I'm working with are amending their solar. I'll be sharing, when it's time, a document that we're putting together, PVPC, which are best practices for solar development. A lot of the communities are starting to look at that, especially during this lull due to COVID and due to the smart regulations being in flux. So that's just a comment regarding solar siting.
Great.
So I have a question for everybody. The Greenway Committee in our town is primarily, their goal is to hopefully over time develop the bike path. Is that right? But I see reference to, I think it was in 5, it seems that you got the use of the Greenway Committee in the wrong spots here. I forgot where you just passed it in 5. Wait a minute here.
Goal 5?
Yeah, goal 5, slow down there, let me read it. Yeah, okay, so 3, S3 under goal 5 right there, recruit and train and manage an active trail volunteers. I don't know that that falls under the Greenway Committee. Do people agree on that?
Yeah, they've been helping with trail maintenance while they had nothing to do. Because they were kind of stymied on the bike thing. So like Michael Bueller was really the one who pushed some of the big maintenance things that volunteers did for trails.
Oh, that's wonderful then. I didn't know that, Brittany. But you also could put Open Space Committee there too, because we are a sort of an unofficial liaison with the newly forming Friends of Open Space. And I'm looking forward to them as they've completed their organization and they're moving in that direction, that they can help to bring together volunteers as needed, especially for matches and grants. We know that that's part of it. So go ahead and put that there for open space. I don't think we can put Friends of Open Space on here. I think you have a lot of good references to various Friends committees, but those are committees that we don't have any ability to tell them what to do. Right. Yeah. Sure. Okay. And then in terms of just overall discussion here of the various responsible parties, I think it's the Parks Commission. Am I right, you guys? It's not committee. It's Parks Commission.
Commission.
So
Commission?
all of those that you reference as Parks Committee probably should say Commission.
Some are, some aren't, yeah.
It's a little, there's some inconsistencies there. And then you've got another reference on, let me see where that is. I think it's in G2, oh no, G3, S1. You call something public health when I think you mean Board of Health. Correct.
I did put that as a note because I did see that in your list.
Oh, I forgot that I put there. Okay, good. And then under G4, goal 4, S1, right there, establish priority areas and parcel for scenic preservation. you could put open space under responsible party in addition to the others, because, you know, clearly that was part of, you know, the goals, that if they're considered open space, I mean, if they're considered lands for perhaps potential conservation.
That's another one that could be done like this year. You guys have already made a lot of progress on that, right, Cindy?
We've made some. Yeah, I don't know about a lot, but I don't think it's a target for completion though for 2020, if that's what you mean. I think 2022 is safer. Okay. And the last comment I is goal 5. And that's S3 under goal 5. And it says, oh, I already said that. Forget it.
Yeah, you said that already. So I made sure to include in this.
I'm repeating myself.
In the
Sorry.
next update.
Yep. Sorry.
So I think, you know, one of the things that I added to goal 5 was because they were new goals and new strategies and new objectives. And I added that language that we talked about at the last meeting when Paula was here, that basically addressed the improvements, and then she listed a whole bunch. I just wanted to make sure that it was captured correctly with regards to Labrie Field, improvements to include storage equipment, parking lot improvements, composting toilets. I didn't, from the recording, I didn't hear any specific improvements that you had for Conant Park, although that could always, you know, be general enough to capture improvements that you may find that you need to do in time.
It wasn't Conant Park the site of the potential pickleball courts?
Right. It is.
Right.
Yeah.
So could you put
Skateboard park too?
Yes, at Conant Park.
Okay, so strategy 6 will be it'll be included in strategy 5. So we're going to remove strategy 6.
Okay.
And how critical is the skateboard park? I'm just thinking liability could be really high there. I hadn't heard that was one of the things we wanted in town. Is that true?
They've had a couple of requests.
Okay.
Although for the most part, communities are taking out skateboard parks and replacing them with other things, but there have been a couple of requests for a skateboard park.
Dog parks and pickleball.
I can also put that time frame to FY 2024 for Conant Park improvements to allow for further exploration of, you know, what your needs are.
The other thing I would think about on goal 5 S2, we're talking about offer facilities, and there's a comma there. Offer and facilitate, to provide more indoor activities for seniors. I think also outdoor would be one of the objectives.
Yeah. Indoor and outdoor.
Yes.
Can you not put it any location? Can you just say facilitate,
Right.
Provide more activities for seniors?
Yeah. Because there is outdoor equipment designed just for adults, just for seniors, that I would somewhere down the road want to see.
When you're a senior, you want them there, Francine? You're not a senior yet, so.
So what also we discussed at the last meeting, it was a point that Rini brought up, was what I included on this page 910. So in the action plan worksheet, there were items that basically said no longer applicable, and I just grabbed those and put them here to show that they're not part of this plan, although, you know, they were part of the last plan. So, you know, I think if we need to refine this in any way, that probably is a comment for the committee. If, you know, if there is some additional explanation that we need to make for these.
Or maybe readdress them sometime, you know?
So I do have some comments. The very first one there, explore the possibility to secure public access to the Ty-Carmody. Very likely that's going to be really difficult to do. On the other hand, I've been I have a connection with this gentleman who's with the Holyoke water. He's a water superintendent over there, and it has to do with the purchase of a large tract of land. I don't know if it'll happen, but it's in the watershed area of the Ty-Carmody Reservoir that it's for sale. And I have this pie in the sky idea that if it all goes well, I'm going to bring up this question, gee, how is it that we could perhaps have some more access just for recreational purposes, hiking or whatever in that area? That's me. I'm an optimist. So I hate to see it on there as no longer applicable.
Maybe we could use different terminology.
Just take it off, that first one.
Yeah, we can take off all of the no longer applicable, completed, ongoing. I mean, I think the explanatory sentence that comes before it maybe addresses it. I don't know.
Ongoing is good.
Or we can add another sentence that suggests that these items may be explored in, you know,
in the future or something,
or
yeah.
a future update.
Right.
Maybe explored.
Yeah, because actually most of those restrictions around reservoirs and water supplies came after 2001 because of the fear of terrorism and polluting the water supplies. So who knows, maybe someday that might change.
Yeah, when I was in Southbridge, that was something too. You know, we had 4 reservoirs and none of them provided public access. Of course, being the conservation agent over there, I went with the Conservation Commission chair, and we got to like ride on the back roads over there. It was beautiful. But maybe one day, right, Ed? I think you're right.
Maybe one day.
That there's that. You know, that from what happened in 2001, and it's that fear still exists. So I'm sure that's why there is a ambivalence towards opening those reservoirs to public access.
Right, right. On the other hand, the Quabbin Reservoir, which is the largest one in our state, I'm pretty sure is open with, you know, with certain guidelines and limitations.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, and the last one on that list, establish and develop a relationship with existing land trusts. You've got that in there as a goal. And we already have a very excellent relationship with Kestrel. In fact, I don't like the words under the goal 1, section S2. It says maintain and strengthen. No, it says establish and develop. I would just say maintain and strengthen. Because we already have a very excellent relationship with Kestrel.
Do you suggest, because I think what the, you know, we added the friends of organizations here to this particular strategy. So maybe creating another strategy?
No, I think you should just change the words. This is my proposal. Instead of saying establish and develop, put down maintain and strengthen.
Because you currently now have relationships with the friends of organizations, correct?
Correct, and with Kestrel,
But I might suggest that the town might want to reach out and develop a relationship with another land trust.
Okay. Like,
Only because I see things still getting busier and busier and busier.
okay. Then maybe the wording should be establish and develop relationships with land trusts and with, I don't know, and maintain and strengthen the one we already have. Somehow word
Yeah.
that. That was your
Say
second.
Yeah, something like maintain existing and increase other potential.
That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
develop other potential. Yeah.
Okay.
Can we work with other conservancies other than Kestrel?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's been good to work with Castro, but like I say, I see when we do some of these projects and whatever, that they are getting busier and busier, so, but they all might be.
But from my experience, I understood that they were separating projects based by town, like Southwick and Westfield, and Southampton, Easthampton, and Hadley. They were kind of separating who addressed which towns. So I guess if we can talk to either conservancy, that's a good thing. Ooch.
Were there any other comments or things to bring up that you think are important for the committee to discuss?
This is Janet Brown. I have two more pain in the neck things. On section 6, the
Okay.
paragraph is repeated about meeting 5 times beginning November the 19th through August the 20th. We mentioned that farther up, way up in the top, that maybe we might not say 5 times.
All right.
And go to September. And the other thing is the next little paragraph down below, only 13. You actually posted it and put it on the website and all that kind of stuff. And then only 13 people attended. Maybe that does not need to be pointed out. Just say we met, I guess. I think 13 people doesn't show a really good.
Yeah, we'll make sure that those that language matches. Again, you know, it's one of those things where this is a particular section and it literally matches section 2 as part of the planning process. So we'll make sure that it's the same language.
Okay.
And the way it's reflected.
Do our pictures really have to be?
That's you, Janet.
I don't. Well, first of all, you can hardly even see it. I mean, Ed looks good. Ken looks good.
This one?
There's 9 pictures, but there's 12 people on page 1, and so all 12 people aren't even shown. Maybe you didn't have their pictures to capture, but
no, because I don't think there's ever been a meeting where I had the full committee.
Well,
I always had a quorum. This was supposed to illustrate that we've been meeting, and this is the only way we've been meeting.
There was
time.
Right? Well, you look good, Ken, but
My hair is extra long there.
it is long hair.
Maybe what I'll do is the recording of this video, because I have had a haircut, will update that picture.
Wait a minute. Here, let me fix my hair. Well, we got to get Reni's face in there. She's
Page 62.
But anything else, Janet?
No, that's all. Ed looks like he has a bib on, so.
Yeah, I wear my mask around my neck so that I don't, when I want to find it, it's there.
You should take it off for the picture, and it's just because somebody's going to say, "That's your town administrator. He doesn't even know how to wear a mask," you know?
None of us have masks on, as a matter of fact.
Right. Well, it's a Zoom meeting.
Ah,
So take a picture without his bib on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is,
Yeah, I like it because it captures, you know, the moment of the only way we've been able to work together is through this technology.
If you want, you know, I can take note of this particular time of the meeting, if you want to just have a still
Oh.
moment so that we can capture what we see on the screen at the moment.
Yvonne, you gotta move back. You gotta move back, Yvonne.
So,
I know,
yeah,
I
Yvonne,
only
if we
can
can
see
see
like
your
my
full
nose
face,
up.
Francine always looks good, so.
there you go. So we are going to use a picture from this meeting. Okay.
That's my last comment.
Yeah, I think if there, this is obviously, this was to address, and the next version of this that you're going to get is going to be similar, where it's going to be one full document. I guess show of hands or comment with regards to Cindy's comment regarding page numbers. That's important. So if you rather see page numbers as the whole of the document, it wouldn't necessarily include the appendix, but with regards to the draft of, or the, the body of the program, that it just reflect full page numbers on the bottom, or do you like the section dash number?
Is it possible to have both? And the only reason that I asked that question is I definitely like the page numbers overall, because that was one of the issues we had from the original one from 2012. But also, if this had to be broken up into different chapters as different then you also got chapter and page numbers.
I think we're having some feedback issues. So maybe,
I was just switching over. Can you hear me?
yeah. Okay.
The only problem with having both section and page numbers is I think it makes it more difficult to do a table of contents. And I think a table of contents is necessary.
Yeah, table of contents is necessary, and that will be in the next iteration of this. It's just a matter of, do you want, and I see both ways. It really is it will be more of a pain for me to put it in regular numbers because I've been doing it by section, but that's not an issue for me to put this now into a big Word document if the committee wants that.
So here's a suggestion. Leave the section numbers at the bottom as you currently have, 6-1 or whatever. But then in the header, and that was this other part of my suggestion,
Yep.
that each page has a header which basically identifies what this whole document is.
That's fine.
And if I recall in my days of working in corporate life that we could page in a header, that there could be a pagination option. I don't know if that's still evolved in Microsoft Word. I think it is. And you could page in the header. So the header has the pages and you could put it in the corner of the header. Just a thought. I don't know if it's possible, Ken. You look like maybe it's not.
Does that show up on my
On your face, yeah.
It
was very
I
obvious.
haven't seen page numbers I've seen full page numbers in the header, not necessarily the section, but I've never seen a document that has both.
Oh,
So
okay. Then
Well,
people have to decide.
don't you want to be unique here, Ken? and
we
invent
can be
something?
unique.
How about this? Why don't you use regular page numbers, and then in the table of contents, break out the section 6-1, what they are, and show those page numbers that correspond.
Yeah, so the table of contents would have shown each of the sub sections too, like A, B, and what pages those show up. So, the table of contents will now reflect, you may have section 6 start on page 60 instead, right? So and then section 6B would be on 61.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm,
Okay.
so you kind of, that would be the way to find
Okay.
cross-reference.
Yeah. I guess, I know you have town meeting that you're preparing for. We can meet one more time after town meeting. I don't know, Ed, your schedule with regards to the ADA report. That, I think, that needs to be included in this draft before we send it out anywhere.
Yeah.
So
right after town meeting, that will be my concentration to finish that up. So I will.
So I guess
will have that done
we can meet after.
end of August for you.
Yeah, we can meet after that. I don't know.
I don't
Well,
want to
I would say just-
give you.
Saturday, so we're meeting after town meeting, right?
What's
Right?
that?
The town meeting is 2 days away.
Yeah.
I was saying like in 2 weeks.
Oh,
Like the 27th?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I want to confirm that date because I apologize for having to move this meeting.
Well, my suggestion would be the next time you double book is you've got to move the other group, not us.
Yeah, there you go.
Next time, the 27th. I don't have anything. So if you wanted to do it then.
Yay.
Okay.
6
I
o'clock.
can't make it that day, but that's fine if you need to meet.
Yeah, and Brittany, if there's additional comments, please share. And if I don't see you then I will see you around town at some point.
That's right. Well, and then just, I guess the other thing that we need to know is like timeline for presenting this to the commissions and the committees, and then also those form letters for.
Yeah, I'll send those form letters off to you just to have.
Great.
I would suggest those meetings with the boards happen once we finish the draft and we're comfortable with it. Because it should happen all at the same time that the public is reviewing it. So, if the public starts reviewing this in September, ensuring that, maybe in those September meetings, the Conservation and the Planning Board take on a vote to endorse the plan.
Okay, I know Conservation Commission's a little anxious to see it.
Okay.
Is it okay to send like the timeline or the goals or?
I think that's fine. And
Okay.
I think that might be helpful, especially if there's additional comments from
Sure.
the committee. From the
And so would it be appropriate for me to just introduce it to them? Like, is everyone here comfortable with that? Just because I'm the liaison for that commission?
Well, I think it would be great
That's
if you
fine.
did.
Okay, all right. And then who makes that presentation to the different boards?
You just volunteered.
Well, I did, and I'm totally happy to do it, but the formal one after the public or while the public is reviewing it.
So it really would be, I would imagine it would be the member of, and it's not really formal in that,
Okay,
yeah, you're just saying, so as my participation in the committee to update the open space plan, we have now come up with this draft plan that's being reviewed, and I can suggest some language, if there's a script that you want to work off of. But in reality, it's a form letter, which I'll share with you, which I think many towns that have adopted OSRPs have the same language in there with regards to if it's a Conservation Commission or the Planning Board or a Select Board. Yeah.
And I'm happy to sign on for that evening and help you out with it, Brittany.
oh, thank you.
So do we want to confirm the 27th then?
Sure.
Yeah.
6 p.m. again?
Yep. Good. All right, thank you.
I will, I'll get you these changes. Rainey, I look forward to receiving your email. And Francine, if there's any additional
Yep.
comment, we share.
I'll be back to you.
Okay, great. And thank you, Cindy, for your comments.
Thanks, everybody. I
And
move
we'll
to
see you guys
adjourn.
later.
I second that motion to adjourn.
Okay, Cindy made the motion. Who seconded it?
I seconded it and Cindy first made the motion.
That's
Okay,
Yvonne.
who's the I seconded?
That was Yvonne.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then it's supposed to be a roll call vote, so if you just want to say your name and say aye or nay, that would be helpful.
Palmer, aye.
Anybody else?
Janet, yay.
Brittany, yay.
Yvonne, yay.
Odin,
And I vote yay. So I think we're covered. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks.
Have a good night. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Good night, Ken.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.